to the Empower Hour. Lord have mercy. Look at all the things. My husband's phone's ringing.
It's live TV.
Welcome to the Empower Hour with Alexandria Nicole. I have a wonderful guest here, Marta Spirk. I love her so much. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She is a wife, triplet mom, a TED Talk speaker, author, empowerment coach, and marketing strategist. She helps women entrepreneurs learn to boost their confidence and grow their business by looking at their most valuable resources themselves. She does this with her podcast, The Empowered Woman, with over 100,000 downloads. The Empowered Woman, The Ultimate Roadmap to Business Success, her book, and the Empowered Woman School membership and workshops. Hello, Marta. Thank you so much for your time today and joining us. I am so happy to have you and to know you.
Yay, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yes. So first off, let's start off by talking about what you are most passionate about.
Well, I am extremely passionate about helping people understand themselves. And it really started with me, with my quest into understanding myself. It started with me trying to figure out what was wrong with me because of, my behaviors and my goals and all of that. And then I started understanding, hey, there's nothing wrong with me. Let me spread this message for other people out there, namely women who are running around comparing themselves with other women, usually, and thinking, why can't I just be more like this? Why can't I just stop doing X, Y, and Z? And instead, look at yourself, understand where you're coming from, and yes, move towards improvement and things you want to change, but coming from an empowered place, coming from a place of self-love and self-acceptance.
So, do you think that that's where you were operating in that space of comparison, and then that was the thing that made you ask yourself what was wrong because
Yes,
comparing yourself to other people? Yeah.
100%. Like looking around. So a lot of it for me began after I had kids, but I started understanding that it didn't actually originate from there. It was an ongoing pattern from childhood. And that's part of the journey of me unveiling all of this stuff. But it started with I had kids. It was a shock with having three at the same time. And it really pushed me and created this urgency of now is the time for you to get right with yourself. Who are you? What are you doing here? What are you passing on to them? And it was a very individual and in many ways perceived by others as a selfish journey. But it was a selfless journey because I was doing it so that it would impact my kids and then impact other people, right? Not only immediately close to me as my family and friends, but other people that I reach through my business. But yeah, it started there. It started with me comparing my reality with other people's reality, either moms of multiples or other women in any capacity. And especially once I started my business, a lot of that came to the surface. I always say that motherhood plus starting a business so close together, because I started my business when they were 9 months old. My triplets were 9 months old. It really was this double catalyst to bubble up all of this stuff and make me aware of the need of me embarking on this journey for myself and then sharing it with others to encourage them to do the same.
Girl, now I was struggling with one child. I was questioning myself constantly, and I wasn't comparing myself to anybody. I was living in my own reality and almost feeling like a failure when I had
Yep.
my first child 12 years ago. So, how in the world did you operate with three children at the same time, all babies, all newborns, and then felt motivated in that space to open a business?
Yeah. Well, and that's what lots of people were asking me, namely my family. My family was more of a concerned space of make sure you don't overwhelm yourself and you're giving your kids the attention that they require right now. But from other people, it was like the admiration of, wow, you're doing all of this. Um, if you can do it, I can do it too, which was encouraging to me. But there's also other people that were like, I could never hold up to the standard, and it probably bothered them and it triggered them. But what I have found out is I'm really big on personalities, and that's why I love personal growth, and having that foundation for anything in life, but especially for entrepreneurs. Because I started understanding, and it started with, why do I have these desires? Why do I operate like this when I look around at everyone wants to do this? What is wrong with me? Was my default question, right? And then I started understanding I am a driver. I'm very driven. I love being productive and I love doing. In fact, I went on this journey with the Enneagram, which is the main tool that I use in my business, and I created my own personality framework. And in the three personality types that I've identified, there are the doers, and I identify as a doer, which means you produce a lot from the outside. You look like this very accomplished person. But what people don't understand, unless they are doers, is that there are a lot of attachment of our worth to the things that we do. If I
Mm,
don't produce, nobody loves me, nobody sees me, I am irrelevant. Right. So it's that hamster wheel of doing things and not stopping to feel feelings or enjoy what you're actually accomplishing. So everybody is on a journey, but this journey looks a little different, obviously, because we're all unique, but especially based on your personality type. There are people that have no interest in producing a lot of things. They want to make sure that they're doing what matters. Those are different personality types, right? So I attribute a lot of that to my personality type because I know other moms of multiples that have not embarked in this journey, but then there are others that have. So
yeah, and that's funny you say that because I'm definitely a doer. And I become agitated if I'm in a circumstance where I don't see anything being produced.
yeah,
Like I start to feel like we're just talking, we're not accomplishing anything. And, and it frustrates me.
yeah,
And so I have become, I put a lot of energy nowadays into recognizing that I'm a doer, but also recognizing that I need to celebrate the wins, because a lot of times you'll have a huge accomplishment and you'll just be like, okay, on to the next thing.
yeah,
You don't even stop to appreciate the
yeah.
hurdle that you've overcome, right?
Yes,
I am being intentional on honoring the things that I accomplished, honoring myself in what I've completed, because completion is important to me too.
yes.
Because I was notorious for starting things but not following through.
Mhm.
Because again, you get in that space, you're like, this isn't coming along quick enough. I'm gonna
Right.
switch
No
over to
question.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And that's the problem with having so many balls in the air, right? You're about to drop. You're bound to drop one. And that is what, different personality types have different struggles. Other people don't even have any balls in the air. That's a problem. You have to have something going. So it looks different for everybody, but it's not that I'm better than anybody else because I still have those struggles. It just looks different.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. So, what community initiatives are you currently a part of, or something that you've done in the past that you absolutely love and you're proud of that work?
So I am very involved in my kids' school. So they started kindergarten in a private school here in Denver. It's a Christian school, Bellevue. And it's been really nice to be in a different space because all I known before was my reality in Brazil, which is very different. So I'm from Brazil originally, and the whole educational system is very different. People from middle class or upper middle class exclusively go to private schools. It's a very different scenario than what you have here in the United States. And although they had been going to preschool in a public school, I decided to move them to a private school as they started kindergarten. And I was very surprised by the level of activity and engagement that they have, which I now understand why, because they operate through funding and obviously through the tuitions and all of that. So it's been nice to be involved, to volunteer, to participate as much as I can. And obviously, I love helping other women in the community, women that are impacted in different ways, whether it be with personal issues or I have several friends who have family in Ukraine, for example, that I have helped support during this time right now. And those are the things that I'm passionate about: kids, women.
Yeah, all the things.
Mhm. Yeah.
I love that. So, do you help in that community, that aspect with the schooling in terms of like PTA, or like if there's ever an opportunity to volunteer, that's the way you add value to that space?
Yes. So mostly through either donation, monetary donation, or time donation. They're actually having an auction this weekend, a gala, and my husband and I contributed with. He's an electrician, so he's contributing with his services, and I'm contributing with my marketing services. I donated a book as well to be one of the prizes for the auction as well. So those are the kind of things that I do at the school, and I
Oh,
know that as the kids grow too, I know I will become more involved because they're going to be in sports and,
right.
music and plays, and I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, I love it. So what would you say inspires you as an individual?
Oh my gosh, I feel the very first thing, like what really they always say, and especially in terms of personality types, because at times people, especially with the Enneagram, we get confused as to which type do I resonate with the most. And at the end of the day, what most experts will tell you is when you wake up in the morning, what drives you, right? What is that one thing? And then that's easier to be like, then you're definitely this personality type and not the other one. Because at times we get confused and we're like, I like all the things. I want to do all of the things. I'm a little bit of everything. Sure, we're a combination of many traits, but there is a predominant trait. And for me, that one specific thing, all of this to say is I love sharing with people what I know. Like that's the first thing in my mind whenever I learn something new, I have this deep rooted need to share it with somebody else. Like this was eye opening to me. Let me share it with you because maybe it'll change your day. Maybe it'll change, your life, right? And just understanding the power that there is in these insights and these little moments because I know that they're powerful to me. I feel that it's my responsibility on this earth and my calling to share that the insight and the knowledge and the wisdom with other people. So that's why I've
Oh,
gone into my line of work.
I love that. I love that. I think what inspires and motivates me is I want to create generational wealth for our family,
Mm,
right? So I want to be able to empower my daughters to a point to where they can operate and create the life that they want to. You
mhm.
know what I mean? Because
Yep.
unfortunately, I feel like a lot of people are living a life that they don't feel purposeful in, or they don't feel inspired in, or
Right.
motivated in. It's just kind of going through the motions. And I don't want that for myself. And for a while, I was complacent. I was in that space. And there is like a lack of joy. You know what I mean? There's a lack of living out loud, and I don't want my daughters to feel that. And I
Mhm.
also, on this journey, hope to inspire somebody else to kind of pivot their perspective, their life, their journey, to so that they can feel fulfilled. And honestly, like when you're operating on this realm, you connect with other people like yourself, and
Yes.
other individuals that are living out loud and are creating their own world, and their own destiny, and contributing to society in a real way.
Yeah.
And that has been so powerful on this journey. Do you find that you connect with other people that are, vibrating at the same level that you are, because you live your life in a certain way?
Yeah. And I love that you're using the phrase living out loud. That's so powerful. And that's really, really what I do. It's very loud. And not everyone wants to operate in that same capacity, but I feel, especially with the women that I work with that are entrepreneurs, this is the calling, right? Whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, that is irrelevant. You have a message and you feel that responsibility to share that message through your business. It has to be made visible. So that is really the women that I attract are women that even if they're not all the way there and it doesn't come naturally to them, they
Mm-hmm.
feel this pull, um, and they know they need to go there because that's usually what they see in me is that I'm already doing it and
Right.
they want the support or they want to know how to do it, or others that are already doing it and it's like, hey, we're soul sisters, so let's just join, lock arms and go do this thing together.
Yes. Oh my God. Love it. Love it. So, oh, this is a good one. I love this question. What is the greatest lesson that you've learned thus far?
Well, I think, and really to piggyback with what I started with, and I was that in that space of comparison. I feel like the biggest thing has been realizing that, there's a country song that comes to mind that says, "We're all in the same boat." We're all in the same boat, right? We're all, a friend of mine brought this expression to me and I love it. We all have to put our pants one leg at a time. No one is, levitating and putting both legs at the same time. Like we're all the same. We
Yes.
all have very similar struggles. And when you realize that, not only do you empathize with people more, it is easier to forgive. That has been, I think, the pivotal lesson for me. So starting with understanding we're all the same pretty much, and we are really all one, we're all connected, is then understanding the importance of forgiveness, because if you are able to forgive yourself, then you're able to forgive others, right? If you truly know the importance of loving yourself and accepting yourself, then you will understand the importance of loving other people. That does not mean being best friends with the whole entire world. That means agree to disagree, and I wish you the best, right? With whatever it is that you want to do with your life. I don't wish you harm. And that is a very valuable lesson for life, but also for business. And this is one of the main pieces of my message is helping women in business understand that resentment can really hold you back.
Mm.
And that is
That's
something that I don't feel like it's talked about enough when it comes to business, because it's like strategy, learn to sell, what is your target audience, blah, blah, blah. But not a whole lot of people are talking about the emotions involved in this process, because all of your traumas, all of your unresolved issues from your past are going to be brought up in the challenges of business. And it is really such an amazing opportunity for you to grow as a human being, because you want to grow this thing. You think it's separate from who you are, right? And then it starts showing these things about yourself, and you have two choices: stop it all and pretend like it's not there and live in denial, or really face it and decide to be a better version of yourself. And it really starts with forgiving yourself and forgiving others, because you can't control people's reactions, but you can control yours.
Oh, that's so good. And also, I think something that pairs with forgiveness is accountability.
Mm,
That is another thing that presents itself in business and contributes to whether you're successful or not.
yeah.
Because if you aren't able to really evaluate yourself and your shortcomings and your downfalls as an individual as well as a business
Ah,
owner, that doesn't give you space to grow. So
yeah.
if you come out of the gate and you're like, I'm perfection, there's
Mm,
nothing that needs to change. And I operated in that space, honey, for a while, especially with my husband. I'm just like, you're the problem. I'm perfection over here, right?
mhm,
So
mhm,
like for the first 7 years of our marriage, I was not accountable, and I wasn't operating in that space,
mhm.
and that also tried to it kind of like went over into the business aspects of things, because there has to be a certain level of humility and willingness to accept your failures and
Yeah.
evaluate them and grow from them. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No, yeah, and that to me is the definition of empowerment. So many people have different views, different definitions, whatever, do with the word whatever you'd like. And like many buzzwords, it starts losing meaning and people start associating with bad things and it gets a bad rap. But to me, empowerment really is taking responsibility for your life, for your happiness, and for your success. Stepping away from that place of victimhood. And how do you do that? Just
Mm.
exactly what you said, owning up to your mistakes, owning up to your shortcomings, and when I talk about personality, right? Looking at yourself, understanding these are my patterns, these are, my habits. Okay, now I can then decide, is this something that's serving me in the long run? What can
Oh,
I do to change this, right? That's accountability 101.
oh, that's so good. So, one more thing about forgiveness. What do you think is a great tool to help people operate with forgiveness? Because something that you hear a lot about is the importance of it,
Mhm.
but there's no real actual steps to it, right?
Yeah.
Because if we've been wronged, or either in our business or our life, we still become triggered by things that have happened to us.
Yeah.
So, is there like a mantra or something that you say or something that you implement when you are triggered, or when you think about something that's happened and you try to say, no, I've forgiven for that? Or like, how do you release it?
Mhm. So there are two things for me. One is I see forgiveness and gratitude as two sides of the same coin, because when you choose forgiveness, you are choosing gratitude. And I think gratitude is something else that's become a buzzword. Write your gratitude journal. What are you grateful for today? And then it kind of loses its core meaning. Also
Mhm.
because it's very simple. It's not rocket science, but we make it hard because we don't know how to do it, or because we don't want to do it because
Right.
it's not the default. But it's really finding choosing to find the silver linings and choosing to find the lessons in everything. Yes, the situation sucked. Yes, were things I couldn't control, whether it be circumstances or people, but I can control the way I feel. So I can choose to see the lessons in this, right? And move forward. And on that note, something else besides the gratitude, and not to mention the whole what is it that the saying, when you hold grudges or resentment, you're um eating or drinking poison and hoping somebody else dies, right?
Yeah, I knew that's where you were going with it. I could hear you thinking it.
I mean, that right there is pretty self-explanatory. You're doing it to yourself. You're choosing it yourself. But the other point of that is not looking for that external validation, not looking for anything that's outside of yourself, because you can't control that. And there is a quote that I usually use in all of my presentations that has stuck with me for the last several years. It's by a poet, it's a British poet that says, see your beauty without a compliment and without a mirror.
Mm.
What would life look like if all of us walking around we're just acknowledging our worth and acknowledging our beauty without having to ask someone for it or without expecting it from others? I feel like we would be so much more grateful when those compliments came about, because we weren't expecting for them. They weren't our lifeline, you know? So I think that's another path to forgiveness, is managing your expectations, because again, if your expectations are on people, you can control that. So how about changing the expectations to actually something that you can measure and that is directly connected with your own actions?
Oh my gosh, that's so good. That's so good. And we can't control how other people behave, how other people treat us,
Hmm.
because a lot of times we are on the receiving end of how someone feels about themselves,
Exactly.
right? So
Yeah.
if you're looking to someone to validate you who isn't even in a space of self-love, and then that's how you're measuring yourself, now you're two loveless people
I
because
know. That's terrible.
yes,
Well,
yeah.
and I think a lot of it too, understanding the concept of projection has been
Mhm.
huge for me. It's exactly what you just said. Whatever somebody's telling you, it's the projection of their inner reality. Once you really embody that and that becomes like so clear to you, you're able to separate yourself from what people do and what people say, because you're so sure of what you believe that it's whatever you want to do or whatever you want to say. Obviously, depending on the level of relationship, there has to be some communication. But in general terms, if they're not in your house or your neighbors, you're able to shut that stuff out and be like, this has got nothing to do with me, right?
Oh,
How you
oh,
handle that is your choice.
oh, that's so good, Marta. Yes. Oh my gosh. I love you so much. So, what is the book that you've written that you wish you'd read? Oh my God, the book that you've written is really supposed to be the book that you've read.
Well, I have both. It worked out.
Read that you would suggest it. I do want to hear about your book too.
Oh gosh. There are a couple. Well, when it comes to personal growth, one of the ones that have really been that really kind of started me on this whole journey was High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. I remember reading that and both being amazed at the content, but also thinking, this is what I want to do. How do I get to a point where I have such wisdom that it's contained in a book, and that I get asked to go teach this wisdom to other people, that I get flown into places to coach people, and it seemed like such a far away thing. But now here I am. I have my own book and I'm teaching people and I'm coaching people. And so that was really, really inspiring to me. And obviously, the content of the book talking about what is it that you can do daily and be mindful of so that you can achieve the things that you want in your life. So that
Mm.
is one of them. And another one that is more, it's focused on sales and it's focused on marketing, but it is a lot more than that because it talks about you as a whole. It's called Energetics, The Energetics of Marketing and Selling by Lenka Lutonska. And I'd never heard of this lady, but recently a friend recommended it to me, and we're actually doing a book club. We're reading this book, and she talks about the importance of your mindset and the way you feel about yourself when it comes to business and when it comes to sales, which is exactly what we were saying here. But she goes into like ego, higher self. What are you projecting onto your clients? Why do you keep attracting people that you don't like? Because that's what you are putting out there. I don't want clients that ask for refunds. I don't, and then that's what you attract. Why? What is happening? What is your attitude? And many times we would think, oh, I need to tweak this ad. I need to change this copy. Sure, those things are helpful, but ultimately, it has a lot to do with what's inside. So I love that stuff.
Oh, so she's okay. So I understand the title, where it's more about the energy that you are putting out and what it is that you are attracting to yourself, even
Exactly.
as a business.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yes.
it's really
Oh,
good.
I like that. I really want to. I want you to send me the link to that book because me and my husband, when we started our contracting business, we would focus mostly on what it was that we didn't want, the
Mm,
clients that we don't want,
that's
right?
what we all do.
And then what we would do is we would market to the opposite of what we, so basically it was like our model person in reverse. So we
Yeah,
think about what we don't want, market to,
right.
so that we can market to receive that opposite person. But we were still receiving what it was we didn't want because we were putting our
Yeah,
physical energy into that being as well.
yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and we do that with everything. In fact, that one of the hardest things, and I still struggle with it to this day, but I think most would resonate, is when people ask you, "What do you want? What do you really want?" Like the majority of us really struggle with that because we are usually borrowing these goals from other people. But when
Mm.
somebody really stops us and it's like, "Well, what do you really want? Where do you really see yourself? What do you want to try to create?" Like, that's a tough question because we don't take the time to actually think. We're so busy doing, especially for the doers of us. Like, I'm just doing for the sake of doing, not really sure where this is taking me, but I gotta be doing something. Otherwise, I don't feel like nothing's happening, you know? So, getting really clear on that, my gosh, isn't that obvious that that's how you're gonna receive it? Is what I mean, that's what the Bible says. You don't have what you want because you don't ask, but usually you don't ask because you don't even know what you want.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. And I'm looking at my vision board right now, and that is one thing that helps you be concise about what identifying what it
Yes,
is that you
the
actually
visuals.
want is
That's what
having a vision board and looking at it every day
Mhm.
and determining, are the things that I'm doing now helping me get to that destination that I want to be.
Right.
But also too, we have to be cognizant of the fact that it's not all about the destination. Like we
Right.
have to appreciate and embrace the journey too, and
Yes.
the ups and downs of that, which brings us to our next question is like, what is your relationship, how do you view failure, how does it play a role in your life with how you perceive it?
So I've been and through forgiveness really, and that's the path that I've been walking on and that I actually incorporate in my coaching is that through forgiving myself, because the temptation of failure is to either blame yourself and blame other people, but like we talked about, this is really putting yourself in a space of victimhood. Through forgiving yourself, forgiving, allowing yourself to feel the feelings, because lots of people are like, something bad happens, just get back on the horse and go for it. Sure. But at the same time, let's take some time to look at those lessons. Let's take some time to acknowledge here. Because when we try to forget and when we try to deny, we're actually doing the opposite. We're not processing it, right? So first thing is really allow yourself to be bummed about it, right? Allow yourself to recognize that that's not what you were going for, but then don't dwell in that because I think the advice of just keep on going, right, is to don't dwell in the crap. I mean, don't let that stop you. Amazing, but it's neither here nor or there. Let's find the middle ground here is acknowledge, allow yourself, because suppressed emotions are going to come up at some point. So don't suppress them. Allow yourself to be bummed out for a little bit. Don't stay there. Learn the lesson or look for the lesson through that, which to me is empowering yourself. Um, by reminding yourself of other things that you've done, because every time we're going through a challenge or through that specific failure, it's almost like there's nothing else in life. That's the only thing we can think about, right? And we're so disappointed. And how do you turn that around? Is you remind yourself of other times when you felt that exact same way and you've gone on. You're still here, right? Life didn't end, the world didn't stop turning, right? So, and then that empowers you to be like, no, I've gone through some pretty hard stuff in my life and I bounced back. This is not going to be the one that takes me down, right?
Yes.
And then really allowing yourself to see, again, with those lessons, what are the positive repercussions of this? What can I make out of this? But you can only do that once you look at the lesson. So, long story short, I really believe that failures are lessons. And, people can come and say, hey, something awful happened to me. There's different layers. I don't want to take away from the severity of anybody's situation. But again, if you choose, because it is a choice, to look hard enough, you will be able to find those opportunities to forgive, to empower, and to transform yourself.
Yeah, and also I feel like it's important, like you said, to take a beat and evaluate the failure, because the last thing that we want to do is try to keep moving forward and not really evaluate what the
Yeah,
lesson is supposed to be, and then ultimately repeating this cycle.
yeah. What happens? I'm so glad you said that because this is really what it is. If you don't take the time to learn the lesson, it's going to come back again. That's really and at times we feel like we're going around in circles, and the reason that is because you're not taking the time to actually acknowledge what's going on. And I love the analogy too of I don't know if you've seen this going around, like a spiral staircase, because oftentimes we view success as like this linear, like it's climbing a mountain, right? But in reality, if we start looking at success as climbing, uh, uh, what is it called? A spiral staircase.
Yeah.
From the top, right, it looks like you're going around in circles, right? Because you're seeing the same thing when you go around, but you're going up. So the view, the things you're seeing may not be very different, but the view is different, right? The perspective changes. You have learned, you have evolved. And I think for me, especially, becoming a mom, starting the business, when I look back, I see how much more experienced I am. And at times we get frustrated. I know I am one of those impatient people, and that comes with being a doer. That's why we do so much. It's like maybe if I do more, it'll happen faster. It doesn't work like but it gives you lots of experiences then to look back on and be like, man, I did all that. I have experience. If somebody comes and asks me a question about this thing, I've done it like a billion times. I can help them and I can save them a bunch of time. And that's when you become an entrepreneur and you monetize your wisdom.
That's right, and that's right too. And I don't know if this happened to you, but when you are, transitioning in your journey and you're leveling up and you start to honor your worth and value yourself and
Mhm.
evaluating what it is you want your price point to be,
Mhm.
what point did you have a hard time transitioning from doing things for free or doing things in kind to no you
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
you have a hard time
It,
with that?
oh my gosh. Yeah, totally. And every level is a new struggle, right? And to being like, no, I'm not going to let you pick my brain for free. And you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
or when you set those boundaries and you're like, I don't have to offer this and go over time. I can say we're done. And if you need something else, pay for another session or whatever it may be, right? Is
right.
creating those boundaries because you're not afraid of the rejection anymore and you're
Mhm.
owning your own worth. And again, that comes with time, that comes with experience, and also the willingness to learn from the lessons, right? So
Oh,
that's
that's so good. That's so good. Not afraid of the rejection because you're experienced in a certain arena, and
yeah.
it was challenging for me because I was getting calls and having meetings and giving advice to people that they were implementing all for free,
Mhm.
and I just was like, no, I can't operate like
Wow.
this
And it's
anymore.
scary, right? But
Yeah, it is. to try to, because you wonder, well, am I experienced enough, or am I wise enough? Like, you
Right.
start to question yourself
Yeah.
when others have already proven
Yeah.
that you are offering and adding value in a certain space, but you
Mhm.
still question yourself.
Yes. And the more I grow and the more successful people that I'm surrounded by, I hear that this doesn't really go away. It's like that staircase, right? It's just a different level of it. But we all, and again, because we're humans, right? We all get nervous. There are certain things that are going to get under our skin. There are certain reactions that we're going to be surprised by and think, what did I do? Right? Is this something that I caused? And then
Mhm.
all the stuff that we talked about, understand that it's projections. We don't know the whole story behind why that person said that's that one thing. And they don't know my whole story either. So let's just call it a day and keep going with our life.
And keep it moving.
Oh
Pretty
man.
much. So tell me about your book. Do you have it with you? Oh, I can see it in the
I
back.
do, I do.
Tell us about it. Tell us your thought behind it, how long it took you to write it, everything, all the
Yeah,
things.
so it's called The Empowered Woman: The Ultimate Roadmap to Business Success. Um, I really wanted to write something that would go hand in hand with my business. I decided early on that I didn't want it to be a memoir, even though I talk a lot about my story, obviously, because I wanted there to be like a tangible takeaways for people to implement in their own lives. Not that you can't take that from a memoir, but I wanted it to be a piece of my business, something, a taste, right? Of this is what it looks like in my programs. This is what my coaching looks like. And from a marketing perspective, that's, the smartest thing to do because now I have something tangible, especially because of the fact that I am a service provider. It's really nice. Oh my gosh, it's been almost 4 months since I published this book, and I can't tell you how satisfying it is to have something tangible to give to people and to know that this is going to come around, whether it be through you, whether it be through somebody else. Like, I'm spreading my message beyond just using social media, that it can be taken down at any moment. This is a piece of me that you can take with you, and we can further our relationship that way. So that was my thought behind it all. As we started editing it, I realized that it was going to be more focused on the personal growth of stuff, which has a lot to do with what we were talking about, the energetics, right? The energetics behind it, because it's you understanding yourself and that your business is an extension of you. So
Mhm.
that is a very necessary step. That's the foundational step, is getting to know yourself. Um, and then later on, that's when I realized that's how people write more than one books, because they have other things that they need to say that don't fit the scope, because you don't want to say everything. And I think many people get caught up in that and get stuck in publishing their book, because we all have something to share and we want to share a canon. We want to share a Bible of our stuff. And it's like, you can't do that. People are not even going to want to read it if it's that big. You're going to lose somebody in the process, you know?
Yeah.
So the book is really, really short. It's less than 100 pages, but it encompasses the 5 steps of my framework. And 3 of them I just shared here, which is forgive, empower, and transform. The other 2 are notice and listen. And it's really notice everything directed to yourself. Notice yourself, listen to yourself, forgive yourself, empower yourself, and transform yourself. And I've used this framework in everything in my business, whether it be personal growth related or marketing. You can use the same principles. Notice your audience, right? Listen to your audience, forgive your audience, empower your audience, transform your audience. It's all the same,
Right.
because we're going through this journey, and this is what we're projecting into the world. So we're empowering people to go through that same journey. So
Yeah.
that's really the message of the book, is helping women get real and honest with themselves about their patterns and their behaviors. Because, like I said, this is what I started doing with myself. And ultimately, my realization was, I need to share it with other women. What if they are asleep like I was, which many are, to their stuff? I need to be one of the people in this earth, because I know there are many vessels that are being used this way. And that's another thing I've been learning, is that even if your message is very similar to somebody else's, that's what I talk about in the book too, is you're a unique vessel. No one's going to say it the way that you do, because nobody else on this earth, most likely, is a triplet mom that comes from Brazil. I know for a fact there is not a triplet mom that comes from Brazil that's named Marta Spirk, that lives in Denver, Colorado. Like, there is no other one like me. So somebody out there is going to listen to this message and it's going to resonate with them in such a capacity that is going to change something for them or initiate something, trigger something, right? Plant that seed. So that's really, it's very meta, I guess I should say.
Yeah, yeah, it
I'm
is.
living it. I'm telling you to go through this journey and then help somebody else go through the same journey.
Absolutely. And that's the point, really, like of all of these things is to share what it is that we're learning with others and
Yeah.
to hope that it resonates with someone
Yes.
and inspires them to move beyond what they currently are in their life.
Yeah.
And that is why I do what I do. That's why I have the solidarity talks, is because I want to be that beacon of light for unity. I don't want to just be a person that is upset with the way the world is or just kind of mumbles and grumbles and does nothing.
It doesn't help anybody.
It doesn't. It doesn't. I want to live and cultivate a world that I'm interested in living in. You know, and
Yes. I love that.
hopefully have a legacy that when I'm gone, that spirit will continue on. Because that's all that we can do, right? Is we
Right.
either try or we don't try.
Yeah.
Which lane are you operating in? Doing nothing or something?
Exactly. Oh, I love that. And it goes back to the balls in the air, right? You
Mhm.
gotta have, I mean, some of us have lots of them and we gotta learn to downsize a little bit, but others of us don't even have any up there. That's not good.
Oh my God. So you and I haven't talked about this yet. Tell me about your TED Talk and how that went and how it came about and how you feel about it. Yes, tell me.
Oh my gosh, it was an amazing experience. At times it's still kind of like a blur of did that just happen type thing. Because it was something I've been wanting to do for years. I'd applied to before, but as it is with life is that timing is a thing, and this was the best time for me to be doing this because of my book. And the message of the talk was the message of my book. And a lot of what I touched on here today, I talked about learning I was having triplets. And when you say, what do you think failure is? What does failure mean to you? I don't talk about failure, but I talk about defeat, feeling defeated with receiving something that I never expected or I never asked for. That is what it is with life, right? At times you get thrown certain stuff that you're not, and it's such a vulnerable thing for me to say because I remember when I first started sharing about my mixed feelings about being a triplet mom. I got some backlash of people saying, "You should be grateful. There are people out there that don't even have the ability of having kids." And I was like, "That's not the point. The point is there are feelings that I felt, and I don't want to be shaming myself or have other people shaming me. I mean, do whatever you want, but I'm not going to receive it. For the feelings that I have, I get to share this because I know that there are other women out there that experience similar things. And like I said, I feel it's my responsibility to share these things to help other people. Right. So I talk about how I felt defeated because I had other plans for myself, but I made something out of it. Not only being grateful for my kids, but taking risks, right? Taking risks in starting my business, empowering myself through that. I talk about leaving Brazil, which was something else that, even though it was a choice of mine, it also felt like defeat in many ways because I was starting from scratch. I didn't have friends, I didn't have a career, I didn't have family, my parents' support. It was a big move, but it was something that I chose. And look at all the other opportunities. And then one of the things that I say is, had I not left Brazil, had I not had triplets, I probably wouldn't have been standing right here on this stage. So, what are
Mhm.
other things in your life that you can look back on that were really, really hard, but had they not happened, you wouldn't have been where you are. So, let's learn
Oh,
to look back and be grateful. So, that was a lot of the gist of it. And it's just, I'm incredibly grateful to have been chosen. I feel like that was another validation in my path, a confirmation that what I'm doing is resonating, that what I'm talking about matters, that people need to hear this. Because if, curators of such a big organization decided that this was worthy, it's time for me to recognize that it is, So just
mhm.
like what you were saying, at times we're like, I don't think this is valuable. I can't charge more. So all these little steps or big steps have been showing me, no, Marta, keep going. Like it was a nod, right? Keep going. This is for real. You've got what it takes. People are going to be blessed by it. And I've gotten great feedback out of it too.
Oh, that's so good. I think sometimes as mothers, we're not allowed to feel our feelings when
No.
we have our struggles in that motherhood, right?
Yeah.
And just like you said, my daughters are in Cincinnati right now with my husband's parents. They take them once a year so that we can just have some quiet.
I love it.
And I'm just like, oh, this quiet is nice. And
Mhm.
I'm
Oh
like,
my God.
well, I wouldn't trade our daughters for anything. But man,
Yes.
we can go back 12 years. I mean, when we still go down the same path. And my husband, every single time, without wavering, says, I don't think we would be where we are today if we didn't have our daughters. We
Right.
wouldn't have the motivation, right?
Right.
Still
Totally.
be in the same mind frame that we were when he was 28, I was 23. We started our family together, just like willy nilly eating grapes for dinner, working some job you don't care anything about, and not really having that drive. And
Yeah.
like I said, one of my motivating factors is creating generational wealth for
Yeah.
my daughters, right?
Yes.
So it gives me another level of momentum and energy that who's to say that I would have that same level if
Totally.
it wasn't for our girls,
Yeah.
right? So you can't change the journey, you can't change the past, but you can appreciate it for what it has created for you in your present life.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly. And that's where the gratitude comes in too,
Mm.
right? And being like, this is hard, but I can be very grateful that I am tested this way. Or one of my mentors says, it's not really a test, it's being trained, right? You're being trained so that next time you will know what to do, or you can help somebody else because you have that experience. What if we looked at hard things that
Right.
way instead of just complaining all the time?
Oh yeah. TD Jake says something that's amazing. I love this for him. He says, you are being tested. Like the devil basically warns you of your greatness when you start to become being tested in a different way.
Ooh,
So you know what I mean?
yeah,
Because
that's powerful.
he doesn't give trials and tribulations to somebody on his team. The devil's like, I'm not worried about them. They're
Right.
doing fine at being sinful.
Totally.
Being
No, I
worldly.
love that.
You
That
know
is
what
so
I mean?
true. Yeah.
But your greatness is shown when you are being tested because you have to come up a certain level of attack in order to really, pressure is applied to diamonds. In order
Exactly.
to manifest and step into what your true calling is, you have to be tested to some degree. And you can either waver under it or you can allow it to strengthen you. Yes. So even
Yes.
though I'll be in the middle of a test and I'll be like, sweet baby Jesus, just why?
Yes. Oh yeah. We all do it. It's part of the process.
But when you step back and you look at it, really, you're being tested because you are on a path to greatness.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That's such a great
Oh,
reminder.
I love you so much, Marta. Thank you so much for your time, girl. I think I've got one more question for you. Oh, I've got two more. So, is there somebody in your life that you have met and you thought they were wonderful? And you're like, oh my God, Alexandra needs to know this person.
Yes. So I'm so grateful that you asked that. I have a good friend, even makes me emotional. She's moving to Florida next week.
Oh,
I met her, I think it's been a year now, and we've become really, really good friends. And I've been thinking a lot about her and what a blessing she has been to me. And I would love for you to connect with her. She's a copywriter and she's moving into branding and helping entrepreneurs that way. So I would love for you to interview her because she's also out there empowering women with her work.
yes. Oh, what part of Florida is she moving to? Do you know?
Orlando.
Is she? Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
We after we visited the Keys, we decided that we're going to do half of our business in the Keys for the year and half of our business in Breckenridge. We're
Wow.
going to open up another tile location installation
That's
company.
amazing. I'm so excited for you.
I am too because we want to have the best of both worlds, right? Like you live in
Yeah.
the mountains and we want the beach too. So we're working on again creating the life that we want.
Oh,
Isn't that wonderful? Like
it
isn't
is. It's amazing.
I when I look back at myself before I started to kind of create this life, and I was just taking advice from everybody else and gobbling it up and taking it
I
as
know.
gospel, and then creating this life around advice that
Oh,
I don't even necessarily connect with.
yeah. No, I so resonate. Oh my gosh. Building my life around advice and taking it as gospel. That's what a lot of us as entrepreneurs do too in the beginning because we don't know any better. So let's give
Right.
ourselves some grace, but also tell ourselves, don't do it anymore.
Or taking what you need to from certain things.
Right.
Also recognizing that this is coming from another flawed individual. Literally, none of us have it completely figured out.
No.
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 We're all winging it.
Let's
As
just
parents,
accept that.
as entrepreneurs, as speakers, we're all just
Yeah. We're just, yeah. And going back to, we all, at the end of the day, we all put our pants one leg at a time, right?
That's
Remember that.
right.
Even whoever, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, the super successful people out there, they're not any different. So let's remember that.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So yes, connect me with your friend. I
Oh,
would
yeah.
love to have her as a guest. What's her name?
Chrissy.
Chrissy.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to connect with her.
Yeah,
And
she's
you and I need to get together too. Are you in Denver or right outside of Denver? And
I am. It's Denver, but it's north a little bit. It's close to the airport, so I'm like 10 minutes out.
Okay. Okay. No, that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Well, this is the last and the most important question of the evening, and that is, what is your favorite candy?
Oh wow. Okay. That's okay. I love sugar. I'll tell you that. So that's a little bit hard for me to answer. The first thing that came to mind is chocolate because I would rather have chocolate than have other candy.
Mhm.
But obviously, for calorie purposes, at times I go with just regular candy stuff. But my favorite chocolate is Twix. I really love it.
Really? That's your favorite? My favorite. I'm a chocolate person too.
Okay, good.
Chocolate. So like when I am doing popcorn, I usually go to Goobers. Do you remember Goobers?
Ooh.
Like with the,
I don't
it's
know.
got the peanut. It's basically like an M&M with the peanuts in the middle. Like it's a
Okay.
chocolate covered peanut. So good.
Okay.
With popcorn.
Mm.
Try it. It'll change your life.
Okay.
So
I'm sure it will.
my favorite candy though is the chocolate covered cherries. Do you know? Like,
Ooh, those are delicious too.
yeah, they're in the red box. You see them around Valentine's Day.
Yes, yes,
Like,
yes. Those are
down to
amazing.
like 75 cents a box.
Give me all. No, I love them all. It's hard to pick one, but the one that came to mind when you just asked me was like, all right, Twix is good. I wouldn't pass it up.
So Twix is like, come over here, Marta, and you're
Yes. I'll eat it. Let me just say, in the bottom pile of Halloween candy, it's not going to be a Twix. It's going to get eaten.
That's getting picked off immediately.
Immediately.
I like that with like Snickers and the Musketeers. I'll confiscate those for my daughters, and they can have the rest of it.
The rest of it, yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, what a wonderful time with you, Marta. Thank you so much for carving out time for us
Thank you.
today.
It's so
And this
fun.
is live on Facebook, and then I'm going to be posting it on YouTube too. So
Awesome. And I'll share it away too.
oh, I appreciate it. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate you out there for watching. I do hope that within this hour that you were inspired, motivated, and most of all, empowered. So I will see you next Friday. And until then, be blessed. Thank you, Marta.